Running a small co-working space means wearing too many hats all the time. Community builder, marketer, bricklayer, chef, therapist, all at once. It's exhausting. That's why we started the Community Builder cohort. It's where people who run small spaces can stop spinning their wheels and start making real progress. One member slashed their admin hours with one simple workflow shift. Another launched a newsletter they've been putting off for months and months. Yet another hosted a Sunday market that reignited their local community. If you're tired of fighting out alone, check the Community Builder cohort link in the show notes or contact Emily or me directly. Hello, folks, and welcome back to another Co-working Values podcast. And live from his luxury Filipino lair is my friend Stephen. Stephen, what are you known for, sir? And what would you like to be known for?
I'm definitely not known for Filipino luxury layers. I guess I'm probably known in my previous life or my previous industry as a hospitality operator, especially in casual dining. So I've worked in casual dining brands pretty much my whole life, recognisable high street brands in the UK. What do I want to be known for? I think part of, we'll get onto it, but part of coming out into the Philippines was, I think I did that sort of middle-aged man thing where I got into my late 40s and thought, actually, I need to have some kind of impact on the world and some kind of legacy. And it felt that that could be more achievable in the Philippines than in London, along with some weather and some different pace of life. So yeah, I think just improving some people's lives, I think, is what I'd like to be known for going into the future.
That is so deliciously simple. One of the things I want to get into in this podcast is I just like both of us have worked in catering, as it used to be called, but hospitality as it is nowadays, in the previous careers, and we wandered into co-working, and we both moved country, and there's transitions and elements that I want to unpick in here. But what you touched on it a little bit there, but what made you move to the Philippines? Was it like, oh, where should we go, love? Let's go here, or because
it was even worse than that.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, even worse. So my wife is half Filipina, and she spent all her adult life in the UK, so she's never really lived here as an adult. So we holidayed here a few times, and we decided to get married here. When we decided to get married, we decided to get married here, which we did. And bless her, because when she agreed to marry me, we both had good hospitality jobs. I was the hospitality director for a big chain in London, and she was working for a big training company, independent training company. And we were earning good money and having that sort of nice London life, really. And that's what we sort of, I guess, she signed up for when she said yes, apart from me being me. And then we went on honeymoon in the Philippines, went to a different area to where we got married. And literally the dust was settling. We were sitting in our resort, and I found myself saying, that idea of retiring here in maybe, I don't know, 10 to 15 years time, why don't we just try it now? Why don't we do a taster year? I could resign and maybe do some consultancy. You could probably do your job remotely. We are lucky enough to have a flat in London that we can rent and probably make a bit of income off. I think these numbers could add up. What do you think? And she thought I was joking, I think. But sure enough, that was in February 23. We came home. Within a few months, we'd crunched the numbers and realised that we could have a very basic but perfectly acceptable lifestyle in the Philippines on that kind of income. And by September, we'd moved here for the start of our year trial, September 23. So she ended up. Yeah, go on, sorry.
That's right. That sounds a bit like us. We always wanted to, super cool wife, as she's known, is from Argentina. And we always wanted to move to Argentina. And then in 2021 we were here in Vigo, and we'd moved here by August 2022. We just went, screw it, let's do it, and off we were. And I know a lot of people that have followed that path. They made a decision really quickly to leap into another country.
Yeah, I think I was at a natural point in my job where we'd just opened 11 restaurants in 18 months. I sort of saw that if I went and did a different project, I'd be going in a bit of a circle. I felt like one of these like last man standings kind of fighting the flag for hospitality and the UK. And I'd started to become a little bit disillusioned, especially, classic story, but especially with Brexit and especially with after COVID and what that did to the industry. Yeah, a lot of amazing people and a lot of amazing culture seemed to get washed away. So I was getting a little bit disillusioned with that as well. Um, and it was supposed to be a tasty year, right? That was the idea. So it wasn't necessarily a big move. We only rented our house. We didn't sell up and move and whatever. But so it felt fairly risk free.
And then, can you describe what you're building there? I mean, we can link to your videos on LinkedIn as well, but you've got this kind of neighborhood co-working bar-y restaurant thing going on too, which I'm the more I see, the more I'm jealous of. But like, how are you? Can you describe how you're putting all that together?
Yeah. So I think we. Well, first of all, we knew that part of our taste of the year was, can we find something that, with our relatively small amount of savings, compared to maybe what retirement would look like, that we can invest in and we can do. And we were both very much like, by the way, that's definitely not going to be restaurants. What's the point? There's people here doing it far better and for far longer, and that's what we sort of run away from, if you want to say that. Um, and of course, Kate was working part time. Well, she'd reduced her hours, but was still employed, but was working online. And I'd kind of come over with a couple of contracts that I'd sort of captured in my new world of consultancy. So we found ourselves, laptop bound and cafe search surfing, and effectively everywhere we went, something was missing, and it was just very annoying. You couldn't take a call because there was dogs in the background. There was cockerels, which is often here in the Philippines, or you're in a really nice place in front of the sea, but you don't really want to take a call, professional call, and you've got crystal clear sea splashing up against the back of you. It doesn't bode well with some people. Um, Scuba divers banging around canisters as they got off. So it was either too hot, too noisy, the coffee was crap, there was no aircon, the music was too loud. There was a whole number of things where we were like, we can't find anywhere to work. And there's two big fundamental changes in the Philippines. And remember, the Philippines is still a third world country. And those changes in the last um, year or so opened up this world, or this idea of actually having a professional working environment. One is that a venue was built in town that had integral backup power, with lots of power outages here. Um, so, the normal is to have a little portable generator, and you start it up, and it's like an old Yamaha engine making loads of noise in the background. Um, so uh, the venue, one of the venues that was being built in El Nido, in the town that we're in. So we're in El Nido in Palawan, which is an island sort of south west of Manila. And in that area, this sort of slightly more upmarket scheme was being built, and it had backup power. And the other single thing that changed was, dear Elon Musk decided to obviously launch satellite internet with Starlink. So all of a sudden, you're not relying on dodgy fiber connections and items like that. And that is pretty much revolutionizing Filipino infrastructure and logistics. And that enabled it. That basically gave us the idea of, well, we could actually do some co-working, um, but clearly in a place like this, which is a very typical holiday destination, limestone cliffs, clear sea water, boat tours. It's that kind of place. People don't want a corporate co-working environment, and they aren't necessarily even the sort of cool stuff that you might say exists in cities is still not the vibe. So we sort of we sort of settled on this idea of, well, it's co-working, and that's the point of difference, because we provide this service, but it's also a, a club, a social club. It's all, is it private members club meets co-working meets cafe meets bar? But the idea is that we create this social hub in the town where um, the we can create this go-to place for nomads, because again, nomads super fickle. Will you know will Google where's there a co-working space. If they can't find it or don't feel that it's confident enough, they just won't even come to the town or the country. Um, so we knew that we could take the sort of build it and they will come approach from that point of view. And what we discovered through the research then was actually there's quite a lot of locals that also don't want to work out at cafes, also don't want to work out at their houses anymore. Again, lots of post-COVID people that have left Manila, realised they could work remote in a much better place, but now they're sort of trapped inside their houses because it's got good internet and it's got backup power, etc. But they're starting to get bored of their own four walls. The same thing we're hearing, everywhere really, is that the office isn't correct. Actually, home isn't correct either. And this sort of version in the middle is probably the best of all worlds. Um,
How did how
and
did
there's
you
lots of those
connect with
guys as well.
how did you connect with those people in the local area? Because that is always wherever you are in the world, finding all those people working in their houses that don't know about a co-working space is one of the never-ending challenges. And we used to like where we me and a guy called Phil used to run this co-working space by Euston Station in London, right next door to the cafe that's on the Sherlock Holmes TV show. And
Oh yeah.
like hardly any, in fact, no one from the local area came. And the only time there was a street party organised once, and that was the only time we really met residents from the local area. And it is amazing how few people, if you think I'm going back to London for this example, if you draw a mile wide radius circle around a co-working space, there must be like hundreds and hundreds of people who would go, "Oh my god, I didn't realize I could go there and do what you just said." That third place, kind of, not an office, not my home, but I can go to a professional working environment. That sounds very grown up, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we're probably even maybe not quite that either. I mean, the first things first is El Nido's population 50,000, right? It's not a big town. Um, Probably, you know, goes up to about 150,000, because there is about 90,000 rooms, I think, available in town. So it will go up to that with tourists. But people that actually live here and sign the census, 50,000. So it's quite small. Um, and it's very social. I mean, we part in those 4 months prior to sort of settling on this idea. Sorry, we couldn't believe the amount of people we met, friends we were making, acquaintances, connections. It's very small town mentality, and it is a little bit like everyone knows everyone. To the point that Kate's auntie borrowed my car once, and a number of people said, "Why is Steve driving through the town so slowly all of a sudden?" So it's it becomes you become front page news pretty quickly. If you stand out, so it's pretty small. So that really just we just started having conversations with people. What do you do? Oh, I work for this company. A lot of people are here with blue chip companies. A lot of people run their own businesses. Lots of freelancers. Some at the top end of the earning bracket, some really, young entrepreneurial creative types that, you can work from anywhere. So use this as a base. Domestic people, I mean, Filipinos. So you just get talking to them, and then you sort of moot the idea. And um, of course, you're very nervous of when someone says, "Yes, great idea." We'll see if they start handing some money over, but it feels like that's what they want, and what we're building is this. Yeah, it is a hybrid. I think we've got to be confident in not using the word confused, because I think we're clear with what we want, but maybe we're not very clear with articulating it very well yet. But effectively, we've got two floors. We've got a main floor, which has got a small cafe area and a bar, and we're doing very sort of simple but very serious, very well executed food and drink. And then a sort of co-working area. It's basically four benches, 36 people can sit on these shared benches. A couple of meeting rooms, which can be hybrid. It can be sort of quiet working. It can be meeting rooms. It can obviously be audio visual conferencing. Again, it doesn't exist here. Being able to do a conference call, with a group of people, not non-existent. You couldn't drive 100 miles and find it. So it's completely unique. We've brought a phone booth, for private calls. And then we've got a rooftop, which was actually an accidental part of um, the building we purchased. We managed to find a very clever, integral sort of route to the roof. And once we did that, we presented the idea to our landlord and said, well, we think we can do a rooftop here as well. So the rooftop is inspired by somewhere we found in Bali. So um, it's a sort of amphitheatre style seating, looking back across the bay, astroturf down, bean bags, that kind of vibe, with its own sort of bar. So you got that really sort of casual outdoor, um, but
I'm
considered
gonna I'm gonna
co-working.
link to one of your videos on LinkedIn so people can see how incredibly that is. It's amazing. It's just really simple and amazing to like sit there and look out over the bay.
Yeah, it's pretty special. It's pretty special. But considered, that's the other thing, is that, actually, how do people want to sit? They want to sit casually. They want to sit at height. We've got plug sockets built into the amphitheatre, with wet covers, and got a separate bar up there, so no one, don't have to come down every time you want to get a drink and that kind of thing. Some sunshade. Um, so yeah, and then downstairs is all enclosed and air-conned and quiet, and much more for sort of serious work. But it's only sort of both floors cover, sort of 2,900, sorry, 290 square meters. So it's not enormous.
So one of the things I
Yeah.
want to ask you is like I am very geekily interested in this, and I know at least three people listening to this will be also. So you've opened all these restaurants, and now you're coming to open this kind of hybrid co-working thing. Like, what are you bringing from all those restaurants and cafes you've opened in London and sunny Essex? Like, as you walk on site, what happens in your head?
And so I think this co-working thing is actually um, a perfect split of what is good about hospitality, and maybe what I've sort of fallen out of love with hospitality. I think the basic thing here is a hospitality person wants to create an environment that people feel good. And I think that I get a kick out of that. I've always got a kick out of that. I still get a kick out of that. Um, but I don't want to be in a sort of high churn environment where those people come and go. I also saw the opportunity, as I just discussed, in terms of the need. But what attracted me then was, well, you can really build something. These customers genuinely might come and see you 5 times a week. You can enhance. You can create a hub that enhances their work in life. They can meet other people, they can collaborate, they can become part of a community. This sort of stuff was happening unofficially in these sort of cafes, and there's a couple of them where you would always go at a certain time and meet a whole bunch of people that you'd have a sort of maybe a more professional conversation with, and then you might bump into these people in a bar on a certain night in a certain place. So, but it's almost like they were a bit homeless and they had nowhere to, that was where they were supposed to be being social, but almost cheating on themselves and having these sort of, um, networking type conversations. And we thought, well, we can build somewhere where they will just want to hang out, and it will feel right to, you know, for the photographer to talk to the other freelancer, for the guy that's building an app to, find someone that does marketing or whatever it is, where that kind of all was happening, sort of almost under the radar. So we thought we could do that. As I think a lot of people find out in co-working, you run the numbers and you realize that they're pretty scary. You have to go some to, um, make that worthwhile. So we realized pretty quickly you've got to have a food and beverage offer, and actually you don't want people leaving. And that happened to me a few times as well. You'd leave to go for lunch, and then for some reason psychologically you just don't want to go back to the same place. So that
Hmm.
that you kind of almost cut your customer visit off. So if we can offer really good, not too stodgy, not too light, not too expensive food. International classics is our theme for food and drink. Um, Keep it light, keep it simple. Have a good specials board of changing items. So if you are there 5 days a week, you can eat 5 days a week. And then do these. There's not much craft beer in El Nido. Again, it makes it very expensive to do, but we're gonna do it and see if there's a market for it. Um, and these classic cocktails. So our business partner is master of
I was going to ask
agave.
you about that. I'm so glad you got that in. You need to spend a
Yeah,
bit of time on the tequila here because that is, for me, even someone that doesn't drink, that is a hook.
yeah. So I mean, there's another massive long story about how we met our business partners, but the very long story short is that we looked at the venue that we're actually building, me and Kate, and we said no. We felt it was too big, too soon, too much risk. They did exactly the same for a very similar idea, um, and also said no. And the developer actually said, "Do you two want to talk? Because you kind of got the idea, same idea. We love it. You've both said no. Maybe you can work together." So we then found a mutual friend between my wife and our business partner, Wendy, and the rest is history, as they say. So their background is that Wendy is marketing and branding um, person, that she's done that at sort of run her own agency. But one of the businesses she developed, or one of the brands she developed, was a Mezcaleria in Manila over 10 years ago, and become very close to the founders, and obviously, from a marketing and branding point of view, gave birth to it. So it was very much, close to her heart. Unfortunately, one of those partners passed away, and she brought out his shares and effectively become an accidental owner or a part owner in this business. And then Windy, being Windy, weren't going to do it by half. So she's like, well, if I'm going to run a Mezcal bar, I'm going to go and study Mezcal. So she took herself off to Mexico for, I think, 3 months, and become a master of agave, which I understand is uh, accredited higher than your average sort of sommelier
It's a big deal.
type
I remember
study.
it from London. When I used to spend too much of my life hanging around people that were mezcal and tequila experts in London bars. There's that's a great little coming together. Like, what's the
It's,
word?
I mean,
Serendipitous moment.
it's fantastic, right? Because we've got operations and sort of Western thinking, I guess, with me and Kate, and training covered. Um, Wendy understands branding and marketing, and has got this sort of, she's our creative director of the bar, and then her husband has got a background in finance. So um, Yeah, it's a nice little foursome.
There's as you just as before we got into that bit, I was thinking, as we're talking about the hospitality bit, is the bit I always loved the most, whether I was working in, you know, 5-star hotels and clubs or Pizza Hut, was regulars coming in. And there was particularly, you know, a few bars I worked at in London, people would walk in and you just put their drink on the bar before they'd even got to the bar. And, you know, it's almost like you said less to them than other people, but you had even more of a connection. And, you know, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, yeah, so we think that all works well together. So we think so. This, our venue itself is entered through one of the reasons we made it work is the ground floor. They've got a luxury travel company, so sort of luxury boat tours, etc. So you sort of walk through that kiosk to go up to our second floor, as they call it here in the Philippines, so floor one, and that's where our bar is. And then obviously you've got the rooftop. So we're naturally kind of quite speakeasy. We're not going after the classic tourists that just want to swing back a pina colada. Um, and we think that the people that will be co-working or working in our place and hopefully paying a subscription and become a very integral part of their lives. They want um, a quality drink in a quality environment. They don't want to necessarily be surrounded by the tourists. I mean, we're quite wholesome here. It's quite a family-driven, more mature place. It's not. Um,
Fritz on
it's
the
not. It's
piss.
not. Yeah, it's not that sort of vibe. But there's obviously a bit of that going on, and there's a lot of the bars compete for that. So a bit more pricey, a bit more highbrow, but not taking ourselves too seriously either. Just doing great products and hoping that the premium nature is something that El Nido is ready for.
And what just to wrap up is when, because we're all raging as we're recording this. We're fresh off our unreasonable hospitality workshop at the Workspace Design Show in London with Sonia and Julie. Like, when you hear people talking about co-working and hospitality, what what do you want people to make sure they take from the hospitality industry and put into co-working? Because I think people confuse luxury and hospitality, whereas there's that. What's your take on that before I answer my own question accidentally?
For me, really simple. And I don't I try not to follow these fads and fashions. So it might be a bit boring, it might be a bit old school, but it is how you make someone feel. And it's as simple as that. And especially if this person is going to come back and base a significant part of their life with you, or use you as part of their daily ritual. How you make them feel, is the outcome, right? So how we talk about unreasonable hospitality and Love Will's book, and everything that's coming with that, because it's just harnessed, modernized and harnessed the variations of how you make people feel over the years. And so that's it. I think in a co-working business, in a business like ours, you've got even more opportunity to make that connection, even more opportunity to know people by name, to know their drink, to know what dish they want, to know what seat they want to sit in, um, to take away all those subliminal barriers that there are to work in. I think that's the other thing, is that even when you're at home, the dog barking or the kids or where did I put my pen, or is the internet router working, or whatever it is, all these sort of stuff that you don't really think about, but are still a distraction and annoyance. So we can remove all of that, and all you need to do is pop in. Someone's going to say, "Hey, John, how are you? Same place, no problem. Can I get you that cappuccino? Do you want your Negroni at 5 o'clock?" Um, I think that's a big opportunity that we can do here. That's even better than your average, restaurant or maybe even hotel.
Beautiful. I that little bit about being part of their daily ritual. I really appreciate that distinction. Where can people find you? We'll put links in all the show notes and everything like that. But where can people track you down, find you online, and maybe one day come and visit you?
Oh, that'd be amazing. It'd be great to see some people out here, especially some co-working professionals giving us some tips, because I'm definitely still a newbie. But you can find Neighbours and Nomads at neighboursandnomads.com. That's Neighbours, the American spelling for my sins. I'm in the Philippines now, so no U, Nobros. So that's our website. Our socials are very similar, so Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And then I'm Stephen Phillips on LinkedIn, and I am doing I don't know, an okay job. I think I'm getting some quite good feedback of sort of vlogging the build and the vision of what we're trying to create. And I've just put up part 5, which is actually a month ago. Had a crazy busy month, so part 5's up, but actually part 6 will go up very, very soon, and we're just before handover. So we hope to start beta testing and get some people in and test our systems in the next week or so, and soft launch towards the end of March.
Ace. I'm going to link to those in the show notes too. So thanks for all of that, Steve. And then, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to our show notes, there's links to the European Co-working Day, which is on the 14th of May. So that is anyone who runs a co-working space can run an event, and it's a great opportunity to raise the awareness of co-working to the general public and your local area and everything like that. And also, as co-working space owners and operators, there'll be a lot of connection going on to be able to bond even closer with your peers as we move towards that date. And then there's also in the show notes, there's a link to our Unreasonable Connection event, which is just an hour long. Get onto a Google Meet with us, and we'll put you in rooms and you can talk to other co-working space operators, owners, and community managers and community builders. It's really, really simple, and absolutely we're based it upon the Unreasonable Hospitality logo there. So wherever you are in the world, be careful out there. It is a jungle, and thanks for your time and attention today.